Greetings and salutations. You are listening to the Into the North podcast, where we take a look at the competitive side of the Commander format, also known as cEDH. I'm one of your hosts, Reed, aka Sick Robot, and today I'm joined by my co-hosts, Matt, aka Null.
What's up, everyone?
And Morgan, aka Spleenface.
How's it going?
And special guest, Nathan, aka TheHermitDruid.
How's it going?
Why don't you introduce yourself, Nathan?
My name's Nathan, otherwise known as TheHermitDruid on Twitter and TikTok and basically most other places. I play a lot of cEDH, I play a lot of EDH, I spend an inordinate amount of time tweeting about it. Just too much time.
And you know what? We love you for it, because the good Twitter-based content creators are few and far between.
Yeah, it's a way to keep a general thumb on the pulse of the day-to-day going on in the Commander format.
Yes.
That's where a lot of the people who are in the RC, who are on the CAG, really just talk every day, and so you can really you get to know these people and getting to interact with the RC. So you I very much consider EDH cEDH Twitter most of the time is like a day in the office, because you got the UK shift there in at one point in time. You've got the guys on the coast, they come in at a certain point in time, and everybody's rotating through the office of content creators, and it's very the moving and the shaking, and a lot of the topics are talked about and hashed out on Twitter.
Yes.
And you're on Twitter all of those times.
I joined Twitter specifically because I felt cEDH needed a voice of representation of everybody thought they were just evil spikes. This is this is around Flash, so I don't want to dredge up a whole bunch of that, but I felt like there needed to be somebody to have the conversation where to talk about cEDH and not be the boogeyman, just be a representable face. And it's been a trying couple of years, but so far we're getting places. We think things have been done. We're getting places.
It is working out, as one might say.
It's fantastic. Almost all of the EDH discourse takes place on the one social media platform designed to prevent discourse.
Yeah.
Just yelling into the void. So the sharp-minded amongst our listeners may have noticed that this is not the first time that we've actually had Nathan on the podcast. We had you on for episode 47, where we talked about new players. And we're about exactly half a year down the line. So, how you been?
Doing good. Because I have on top of talking about EDH and cEDH on Twitter every fucking day, I have a whole job on top of that.
A whole ass job.
A whole career.
Wait, that isn't your job?
A whole career. So that's moving and shaking. I've got a restaurant in Toronto called Vitbeo that y'all have been to. So that keeps me occupied. I also run a pop-up that I do at my friend's bar, where I do fancy toasts and just take millennial money. It's good. It's great.
That does sound great.
Yeah. It's instead of shaming people for being oh, you eat avocado toast, just make the avocado toast, take their fucking money, and carry on with your day and go buy reserve list cards.
Everyone's happy.
Everybody's happy. They get their toast, I get reserve list. It's good.
I feel like as someone who bought a time twister, I am in no position to make fun of anyone for avocado toast.
Yeah. It's actually, it's the funny part is I actually recently pulled the avocado toast from my menu because it was one of the worst sellers, because it's avocado toast is so overplayed. So and I've got far more interesting things on the menu than that. So it just became a bitch of dealing with avocados, and I'm I only do the pop-up once every Monday. So even if I have to prepare a minimum amount of orders in case to cover the night, so I'll need at least 6 orders, and everybody else buys all the other toasts, and I've got some avocado that's not gonna fucking last the week, and that sucks.
Yeah, let me know when you have excess avocado, and I'll head over.
Yeah. But God, and dealing with the produce with that is a hassle, because Sometimes they're as hard as a rock, and you just want to throw them against someone's fucking head because they're just like they're not going to be ready on time.
You know what?
So that got bombed off the menu.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember you replaced it with something really interesting.
Oh yeah, no, a sweet potato toast with smoked chili butter and like spicy maple.
Yeah,
and crushed toasted pumpkin seeds.
See,
and
who wouldn't want that?
Yeah. No, like that outsold the avocado toast in the first night. Like the history of the avocado toast was sold out in the first night of the sweet potato toast. I was like, yes, aha! I was like, we're getting some foils.
All right.
That's all I do. Like it's like while I am doing my one job, I am talking on Twitter doing another job, and like I stay busy and my thumbs are sore.
Yeah, man. Side hustle. We all need one.
Like
this is ours.
I don't like have a job. I've got like three. I've got 3 part-time jobs or 3 and 4 part-time jobs because I also teach cooking lessons to like a lot of people on my Discord as a part of my Patreon. Like because like I'm a professional chef, so like I do have like a marketable like skills to offer. So like for my highest tier Patreons, I teach like 2 hours of like one-on-one video Discord calls, and we do cooking lessons, and like it's a rotating monthly. Like every month we change up menu items. I've been teaching them like some stuff from like Vietnamese dishes from the menu. I've been teaching like some Japanese home cooking, like just like a lot of homemade dishes, but like as ways to like help you like improve people's cooking skills, because like that's one thing like I can actually do. Like the magic thing, like I talk about, like I've only been playing since like around just before Ixalan. Like I played a little bit in 1993 and 1994, but like I really only started in like Ixalan. It's been like this is what happens when you spend like 8 hours a day every day for like 2 years on the topic. You get to where I am. Yeah. So the cooking thing is actually something that I've spent over 20 years on. Like I turned professional when I was 14, got my first prep dishwashing job, and basically lived the entire life. 20s was a mess of like fine dining, cocaine, and whiskey, and then now we're in our 30s, and now magic is my my addiction. As I sit next to my foiled out Ishaya list. That's maybe the drugs were cheaper.
And on that note, maybe we should move on.
Hopping into new developments before we really get the show started, get these out of the way so that you guys can enjoy the goody good stuff of the rest of the podcast. Morgan, do you want to handle this third one, since I think we have started I don't know, we've sort of started an informal tradition of you being the person to notice these things, talk about the developments.
So I guess between the recording of last episode and this episode, Into the North officially turned 3 years old.
Wow.
Which is pretty crazy.
Incredible. Can you insert a audience applause track and a clap track onto that?
Yay. And there was much rejoicing.
Yes.
Wow. They grow up so fast.
Dude, what a journey. We'll have to have Lyndon on next episode to give his thoughts, but I mean, been sort of crazy, TBH.
Remember when it was described as the Name TBD podcast?
Oh yeah. Dude, maybe the Malta 6 idea was the better idea after all.
Looking back at it, the 6ix is just so cringe to me. I don't know.
Yeah, just not a fan.
I mean, it was certainly a joke that would only get worse with time.
Yeah,
that's definitely true. For anybody still wondering, I guess we'll release some back. And for in celebration of our 3rd anniversary, we'll reveal some behind the scenes stuff. So that when we were figuring out the name of the podcast, Malta 6 being spelled 6ix was in very real contention for being the name of the podcast.
It even got a mock-up playmat.
It was not in real contention because I was never not going to veto it. But
yeah, I mean, we ended up with the Internet North. We had some other ones, right? I forget what our.
We were
ideas
struggling. I don't think we had any other that we really liked.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, we really really didn't do any of the branding before we came up with the podcast. It was just sort of, all right, we're doing a podcast. What else?
I guess we need a name.
Do we? Where did that conversation even happen? Was that when we were on Facebook?
pretty sure it's
or-
in the
Facebook Messenger. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh my god. I need to find out who suggested Into the North, but maybe not for this episode.
I think it was me. I'm not doing this to like claim.
No.
things, but
I'm just trying to see how many people have carbon complexes, and you're currently the only person on the list.
I see. Let me see. 31 results. I'll do this in real time. No, I won't do this in real time right now. Anyway, thanks for sticking with us for 3 whole years. That's actually sort of crazy. Pretty incredible. And I hope that we get to do this for many more. Maybe not many more. Maybe we call it quits after another 3. Kill it before it goes too far. Anyway.
All right.
No, I seriously, like, it's I personally feel like we do good work here.
Me too. And hey,
lot of
don't
fun.
forget to thank the patrons who have helped us.
That too.
Like,
I mean,
make this.
yeah, honestly, seriously, everybody who supported the podcast, you all deserve a big hug, big round of applause. I mean, we couldn't, like, literally can't do it without you guys, because, like, we wouldn't have been able to get the audio equipment that lets you hear our silky smooth voices and high quality audio definition, rather than using mics off of our random headsets and Lyndon's Blue Yeti. Just like, yeah, I mean, like, seriously, everybody who is both Patreon, but also at this point just watching our YouTube videos consistently, being subscribed to our various outlets and stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's all super appreciated. Like, again, literally could not do it without you guys. Love you so much. Much appreciated. Got anything you want to say about the 3rd anniversary?
Very well said.
Cool. In that case, we'll get on to a couple of other developments. As of recording this, the Deckless database submissions closed about a week ago, I believe. So the next update is on the way. I can't promise that it will be out soon. This one is also a pretty big one, and myself and Sinistra are still working out some other stuff, such as bringing on a new set of reviewers. So look forward to that as well. Unfortunately, you won't be able to apply for a reviewer position right now. We did close applications for that. But you know what? Come to the database server and check out and become a follower for the announcements, because we'll announce when we open up reviewer applications again. So come check that out, and if you're interested, apply then. Otherwise, yeah, just database stuff. Keep your eyes out for a new update in the next. I'll say tentatively within the next week of this being released. Week or 2 of this being released. I'll give it 2 weeks from when this is released.
He didn't have to give a guarantee, but he did.
I specifically didn't use the word guarantee, but I mean, you know what? Lock that one in, I guess. And then we have one final thing in our new developments. Morgan, you want to talk about this one as well? Unless,
Sure.
Matt, you're going to this event?
I am not going to this event, so
I made the correct call here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess it'll be around the time of this release. Possibly it will have happened by the time you're hearing this. But on the weekend of October 23rd, there is Oktoberfest, a big ol' cockatrice cEDH tournament put on by Joking and the lovely folks at Monarch. And some of us will be participating. Possibly when some of us scrub out, we might be commentating. I mean, Reed has transferred me his curse, so presumably I will just not make top 13. But yeah, if you're interested in that sort of thing, then come on down, check it out, watch the stream, join the tournament, whatever you want to do. But it should be lots of fun. and the people who put it on Monarch raise money for a bunch of awesome charities. And so, yeah, definitely come out and show some love for them.
And in the case that this does get released after that event, that's fine. You can still go support them by watching VODs and going and checking out the server anyway, and watching out for the next event they do, because Monarch does a bunch of events. They're all great. You should go support them anyway.
Also, I checked. It was, in fact, Matt who suggested Into the North.
There you go.
Wait, how did you check? I've been scrolling for this whole time.
I searched. Rather than search for Into the North, I searched for 6X. Which is something we mentioned a lot less. And then just went all the way up to the top. And right before... in fact, Into the North was suggested before Malta 6.
Okay. What are the other rejects?
There was, like, honestly, not a whole lot.
I had the Snowblind podcast.
Yeah, Snowblind.
That's pretty good.
The Demonic Consultants.
Oh, that's that's kind of awesome.
We looked at Snow Covered, but there's a Snow Covered Lands podcast.
Yeah.
And then there were some meme suggestions. The Goblin Ski Patrollers. As Matt said that he sorted to Ice Age and Cold Snap.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, there's Lyndon saying, I like Malta 6-6 the best, but Into the North is also good. And me saying, I just Drake, you know? And that's still the way I feel about it today.
Yep. Understandable. All right. So that is our new developments. Yeah, check out the show. This is a good one. So talk about this week's topics. We're actually going to talk about sort of it's an issue that I feel like cEDH players have had forever, and it's an ongoing thing that, quite honestly, doesn't really get a whole lot of attention, and just, I don't know, gets people yelled at a lot. We're talking about, coming from a cEDH player's perspective, scaling down for lower power levels in EDH. I know all of us play both cEDH and EDH of some form. The Toronto-Kingston joint meta, I guess, is what we're calling it now, since it's mostly online. I don't know. Matt, Morgan, do you have a better idea for the name of that meta?
The turnip meta?
I guess. we'll go with that, I guess. Yeah.
It's easier to say and not any less meaningful, really.
Makes sense.
The greater QMTG area.
Yeah.
Oh god.
GTA MTG.
GQA. That is terrible.
GTA MTG.
Can we can not do this though?
Yeah. But anyway, the turnip meta, the joint Toronto Kingston meta, I feel like we play a lot of cEDH, but also like we definitely dip our toes in mid-power, more casual levels of EDH every once in a while, and I think we all have like standing lists for whenever we want to play that stuff. And obviously, Nathan, you play a lot of both cEDH and sort of like lower power. Where would you classify a lot of your decks actually? Because it's sort of like, it's hard, right? Like I'm not sure that, like, would you call
it's really weird
your decks
to place
like higher mid-power?
Yeah, like even my casual decks still turn people's heads that are like that's a casual deck. I'm like, well, it's built with nothing under 3 CMC, and or my other deck is like, this is all creatures. Like I'm doing the most I can do, meanwhile kneecapping the shit out of myself. But I don't know. I know no chill.
All right.
I don't know how to calm down.
So we'll just
I don't.
So what
we'll
you're
just call it
saying
a
is
hostile 7.
You got on Twitter because you felt like cEDH needed a voice that wasn't just, to say that cEDH isn't just pub stomping. You just happen to also be a pub stomper.
No, I have a list of people. What I don't pub stomp I don't. Well, Okay,
I'm
so
joking.
the basically what the whole thing went around was my journey, to sum it up very shortly, was started casual, didn't like 3-hour games, enjoyed combo, this pissed off playgroup, who liked 4 or 3-hour games that like really nobody did anything. I basically almost quit the I quit the format. I sold all my casual decks, yada yada yada. And then like I had a Christmas vacation and I was in the Dominican, and basically all I did was smoke cigars and bad Dominican weed and watch cEDH, like discovered cEDH content.
I mean, it
And
definitely
then
sounds like a
that brought me
vacation to
back
me.
into
I don't
the
know.
format, and now interacting with a lot of casual content creators who I've become friends with. I want to play games with them. They don't play cEDH, so what's the best way to, or are not into cEDH, or like whatever. So like I want to play games with these people, or I want to stream with like my casual friends. So I end up playing like so I end up building coming back to casual decks again. But like for me, building a casual deck can be like a months long process, because like it needs to fulfill certain things. It needs to feel good to play, or I'll just play cEDH. I don't give a fuck. I'm lucky that I have found a group of people, which is again why I recommend reaching out into into different Discord servers and whatnot, is because you can find metas that are like, EDH is not best played in a blind meta, I don't think. Like, not cEDH, we aim for like being able to play well into any meta, but like I play with a friend's Emotely Karuga deck that like is absolutely goddamn fucking terrifying, because like you throw out Emotely or Emoti, or I think there's no L in the end of that, and you like all of a sudden 2 mana Agulta and cascade into like, I don't know, 5 spells, and like I enjoy that kind of magic, or like, so like I play turn 7, 8, 9 decks in casual, if that makes sense. Like, and like my Rule Zero conversation has always been, before Rule Zero was a thing. I always prefer to being like I'm autistic. I hate interpersonal fucking like problems. I hate salt and whatnot. I'm like, so I'll just be like, look, I would rather you look through my deck, see every card, know my strategy, and I play the game that like I'll let you know, and like, do you want to play? Like, this is what we're in for. Like, I'm gonna do this. I'm going to try and win the game. Like, okay. Which is like, and like sometimes I get really tired of that, where I'm just going like, I'm gonna play cEDH because it doesn't really fucking matter what anybody is playing. Like, if you show up to a cEDH table with a lower powered cEDH deck and get stomped, that's just what you signed up for. It's cEDH. Like, I that's happened to me before. That's how I know some ideas don't necessarily cut it. Because like if my decks like get absolutely thrashed, like is it a cEDH deck? I don't fucking know. But like when again, don't pub stomp, but like have a Rule Zero conversation and play with your friends and like make new friends. You like the idea of like, which is why I'm glad like playgroups like ours exist, where like we have these options. But like we live in the Discord online world. The fact that everybody can't, like, anybody that's listening to this podcast has a phone and can curate a worldwide EDH pod tailored to their exact needs. And that's what I think one of the most beautiful things about like this information age, and especially for the EDH and spell table. Like, I can play with literally anybody just by taking my cell phone that I'm probably listening to this podcast on, attach it to an arm, and like I can play EDH with like I can play spell table with literally anybody in the exact power level that I thoroughly enjoy. And I think that is the best, most holistic way to play EDH, because like the worst fucking games of EDH that I've ever had in my life are when I had preconceived notions of casual. Like, my first games back into casual really like rocked my boat, because I'm like, I'd run into a Vorinclex and I'm like, I didn't know how to deal with that, because I'm like, well, I thought we didn't play that card, or like I thought we didn't do this, and it all really sucked. So just be prepared that casual like will bring anything.
It's
Like-
kind of a hard
Well, it's
question
also-
to ask,
yeah.
especially with the cards like Vorinclex. Like, do you mind not playing that in your deck? Where I think it's easier to like approach it as, oh, I need to make this my own deck more powerful.
Yeah.
And that's all-
and that's
I
sort
don't
of
think
why
that's-
you end up with. I think.
Well,
why
like I
you
just
end
I
up
just
with
realized that
power,
like okay,
like,
Vorinclex
fixes
is on the
power
menu.
reasons.
Maybe I should pack like 12 pieces of interaction.
Yeah, but okay. But what if like, okay, packing interactions definitely one level, but then they start playing counter spells.
Yeah.
Well, even my casual deck, I run Force of Will because like Avenger of Zendikar, when that ETBs that like, or like Craterhoof Behemoth as our like, there's some things that like that are in casual that need to be killed in the air, and like you don't like getting Force of Willed, I don't like getting Craterhoofed. Welcome to Magic, but I don't play with people that complain about that. And like nobody is really like the thing is again when you've built like specifically in the case of my Karuga deck, which is a companion deck where everything has to be above 3 CMC, nobody has blinked an eye at a Force of Will coming out of a deck that can't actually run counterspell because of theme. So they're like, oh yeah, that Force of Will is in theme. Yeah, you can't run counterspell. So or like arcane, like I can't fucking run arcane denial. I can't run nice counterspells.
I'm gonna cut out a little bit of a topic for later, but pretty much that kind of comes down to like all powering down ideas have kind of asterisks attached. Like in your case with Force of Will, like I think it's reasonably excusable because of how significant your downside is. And
yeah. So that's why, like, when you're powering down and you're trying to give yourself a theme, a lot of people are a lot more forgiving, which is like, or okay, so like a lot of when you're powering down, it may not actually even be powered down. Like this may not actually even be powered down, but it's the appearance of powered down. The finisher in my Karuga Sakashima list is literally Hisp's loop with Sunscorched Desert and Kadama and like a land, like, and just bounce them back and forth. It's literally just a cEDH combo. But like to other people, it's a 5-card combo including both of my commanders.
Yeah, I mean, so I mean, it's definitely some way to say that it's not powering it down. But I think that's
well, okay. Well, people would rather lose to a 25-cent land that I bounce infinitely than to Thassa's Oracle or to Labman.
Yes, but so this is, I think, what we're sort of getting at there, which is that it's more about like you can maintain stuff from cEDH, it just can't be all the generically good stuff.
Yes. So you could still, like, it just appears on the outside. Like everybody's like, I lose to what? Oh yeah, I'm gonna bounce this Sunscorched Desert a bunch of times, and then I'm gonna kill you all. Or with like Moloku, Kadama, and Sunscorched Desert. Like that goes. I'm gonna ping you all to death with that nonsense. And people are like have never really minded that, and like especially not when like I go, okay, I'm not doing anything for the first 2 turns, unless I get a very specific hand. But like after that, I'm fucking revving for it, and like people want to like people have generally like want to test themselves, like test their decks or like run their decks against Karuga, like my Karu deck, and it's like really inspired a lot of people on Twitter to like play with companions and build around things, and like I've seen a lot of really interesting and violent builds come from it, like people exploring like Jessica Obosh, like
yeah, which kills people
That sounds
really
sweet.
fast.
really fast. Like, so this is the kind of cool stuff. So if you wanted to power down, play around like fun shit like that. Just because it's powered down doesn't mean I can't like hit you in the face really fucking hard. Like,
Yeah.
like you could,
well,
like Jessica
so I
Obosh and like.
So I think this actually ties in really nicely with like sort of like the question that a lot of cEDH players might want to have, which is like, why would I want to go down from cEDH when I already like enjoy playing cEDH so much and it's all like no holds barred and stuff? Like the thing with that is that you can still play a very violent game of Magic when you're playing casual EDH. It doesn't have to be like completely relegated to cEDH, right? You just it's just a different style. I'm not sure how I would phrase it, but it's definitely like you can definitely play casual pods, especially with like curated play groups and such, that are the same level of interactive and like sort of insane and a bit cutthroat just inside of the game itself, and like you can have a bit more fun in deck building.
Yeah, it allows you to play more Magic. It lets you to do, and like one of the things, like it's sometimes like it can be tiring, but like it allows you to just like take a break, step back, cook off some juices, create some nonsense, have some fun, come back, and then like get to work again.
Maybe read some cards you've never read before.
Yeah, like I since building Kurugadama, like I have been like, spoiler season is like exciting again. Like I have more things to get, like not only am I excited about like the cEDH cards, but now I'm like really excited about niche 3 CMC or above cards. Like I've been having an absolute blast with a lot of new cards. Like they put Search from Tomorrow on a creature into Rift Sower. So now I've got a turn 1 play in Karuga. Or Foundation Breaker, which is like a evoke for 2 destroy enchantment, like a naturalize, which allows me to get like a 2, like it gives me a fundamentally a 2-turn or like a 2-drop in my Karuga deck, which also triggers Kodama, which
4.
is sweet.
Not bad.
Yeah, it's trigger Kodama for 4, drop a free clone. Like, yeah.
All for 2 mana. Who'd have guessed?
Yeah. So that's one of the things, like, if you like powerful commanders, like, you can build with, like, you can build powerful commanders, like, but, like, make sure to include a way to, like, if you, like, nobody gets salty about losing to an all creatures pile. Like, if you did stupid shit with all creatures and, like, creatures and lands, and you're like, go for it.
And, you know, maybe a Primal Surge in there for good measure, but, you know.
Yeah, you can like, personally right now, like, I spent the last 24 hours, like, on Amori, and, like, I've been having a blast right now with Amori in the companion zone, so playing all creatures, with Sakashima and Ikra. So basically, you end up with like double cost. You end up playing all creatures, so you end up with like major cost reducers on your creatures. So on your cost reduction on your creatures. So like turn 1, you like elf, like just your standard normal like turn 1 elf, land elf. Turn 2, put Amori in hand. Turn 3, play Amori. Turn 4, now Sakashima actually costs 3 mana. You play Sakashima. Now the clone that you have costs like 2 in hand. It costs 2, and now like next thing you know, you're dropping like everything for like next to nothing, and you're just storming off with creatures.
So imagine if you didn't do that and instead just copied the Ikra a bunch and then gained a ton of life in every attack.
Well, you could also do that, which is why I chose Ikra over because Ikra over Rayhan. Because 1, I don't have any +1/+1 strategy in there, and 2, having multiple Ikras is a good way to gain back a lot of life really fast in a casual slugfest.
Gain back a lot of life. I mean, you're gaining like hundreds of life out of that.
Yeah, exactly. Like Amori is also a 4/5,
yeah. So
he's got a huge backside.
That's also that. I mean, that's I still sort of want to build this deck for cEDH, which is getting a bit off topic, but you just build Ikra, Bruce, Turbo Nas, you just gain 20 on every attack.
I've seen a casual version of that, and it was terrifying. Like one swing, they just took. Like,
you gained 20. It's great. Gained 6 for
it was
lifelink,
hilarious because like
for what do you? What do you call Icar's ability? It's actually a good question.
Butt link.
Butt link? Yeah. Anyway,
The one that I played against, they were at like 4 life from doing a whole bunch of nonsense and paying life and stuff because like they're paying life or like 5 life. They were really low. And then they played like a Felidar Guardian, and like we're like, oh, we don't need to worry about that, and they're like, yeah, don't need to worry about it. And then they like played out a bunch of stuff and like swung with Ikras out and like. Or Ikra out and like Bruce Tarl and like a bunch of nonsense and like gained all the life back and was just like, oh, we need to deal with that like right now. And they're like, yeah.
Dude checks out. Anyway, I would like to get into some topics here so that we can actually be instructional to our viewers to a degree. I think we pride ourselves on as much as I do love talking aimlessly through an episode. I think they come to us for some semblance of structure, so we'll get through some of these on our show
We need
notes.
at least one list.
List
of some sort.
We definitely need to. We've come to the realization. I'm not sure if we said this on the podcast before, but we've come to the realization that a lot of our topic ideas are just listable. It's just a lot of lists, which maybe we should codify more and we should do every episode as a top 10 list. But maybe in the future, give us feedback on that. If you want every Into the North episode to just be a top 10 list, let us know. Anyway, getting on to the
BuzzFeed is a very successful business, or at least they were for a while. So
yeah.
Oh, so we need more quizzes.
I'm trying.
You're right. Take us to the next topic, please.
Are you trying, or are you just yelling at the people who come up with gut checks to try?
Yelling at people who come up with the gut checks is trying. Anyway.
Oh, you know what? You know what's kind of hilarious here? When you said that you were trying, I thought you were trying to get us back on topic.
Both. All of you both. Anyway.
Not a segue, but let's segue.
Yeah, exactly. So we actually do want to get through some specific points and sort of tips on the actual method and process of powering down a deck. Maybe not specifically powering down a specific deck from cEDH. So like if you're like playing with a Tasigur cEDH deck, we're not necessarily giving you advice on how to power down that Tasigur cEDH deck, but more like if you want to like play more casual, dip your toes, or like you're struggling with building lower power decks after being exposed to cEDH. These are some tips on sort of overcoming that and sort of figuring out your own playstyle, build style for more casual stuff.
That being said, though, with the Tasker example,
just in case Sinestro hears this, why would you need to power down a Tasigur cEDH deck?
That being said, with the Tasker cEDH list, your goal might, your circumstances may have changed. You might have a different play group, and your goal might be to encapsulate what was fun about the Tasker deck and, have it be appropriate for a mid-power pot.
Yes.
Honestly, I think people should play Tasigur in casual more. I really think I think Tasigur. Okay, long story short, and like, okay, Sinestra, don't listen to this part.
No.
Turn
listen,
away.
Dude, this is the Dunking on Sinestra.
Do not
podcast
listen to what
now.
I'm about to say.
We'll have a visual
Go
cue
away.
that lets you unmute.
So now that Sinestra's gone, I think honestly everybody needs to play Tasigur for like a few months. Like I think everybody needs to, like, if for anything it teaches you a lot about a lot of things in cEDH, teaches you to respect what you have. Also, I think it helps hone a lot of political skills that I think a lot of people are sorely lacking.
But counterpoint, what if I like winning games?
You learn the political side of things, but you don't necessarily get the payoff of good politics.
Like, oh, come on.
What if I don't
No,
like
you just lose games slowly.
I think a lot of
It's
what
the
you're going to learn
Tasigur
from
special.
playing it, and like what you're going to learn from respecting like that deck, and like learning what you have, and especially the political, being able to play the table, and like learning how to talk to a cEDH table. I think you're going to learn a lot from that, and then what you take from that, go on and play whatever. But I honestly think it's just a learning experience. I think it's one of the better decks to just train on, just to train politics on. And I think that like in casual, being able to be like, nobody like likes having a lot of their stuff like removed in casual, or like a lot of like counter spells or whatnot. But when you can activate and you can give like agency to other people in the pod and be like, well, like this guy's going to win, I can activate Tasker, you can give me that. And like you start playing a lot of the table and start engaging the table, and I think that adds to a lot better games. Like, and I honestly think that like in both cEDH and casual, like I think Tasker adds a really unique element to the game of EDH that I think is like unfulfilled by literally any other commander.
Yeah,
that's my 2 cents.
There's also, I think, getting like circling back around to the issue of like people need to play more Tasker and casual is that I think honestly the reason why people don't play more Tasker and casual is that it like Tasker sort of suffers from stapleitis in a lot of ways where I feel like it's very easy to build a super stapley Tasker deck with not a lot of identity. And like you really, in order to have like a successful casual Tasker list, you need to drill down, like find the identity of what you want the deck to be, and then like build heavily toward that. Because I feel like people just get burned out on like, this is just good stuff deck. I don't know why I'm playing this. Like this is just boring. I want to play something else. Anyway, and that does cut to this subtopic here about one of our tips on building down a bit, which is cutting staples. AKA also like find more identity.
Every single one. Maybe even think about cutting Soul Ring.
I put this in here so I could have a platform to say this, but I just like don't play Soul Ring in my casual decks. It's just not fun. None of like
my two casual decks can't run Soul Ring.
Yeah, exactly. No, see, this is the way that you should build cEDH or casual decks. cEDH is casual. C stands for casual.
Yeah, that's why I am team companion. Anyway, like people don't like companion. I'm like fuck it. I love companion.
Yeah, it takes not being able to play Soul Ring as just a full moral objection.
Yeah, my Karugadama list cannot run Soul Ring because it's 1 mana. And like my Omori list can't run Soul Ring because it's not a creature.
Yeah. But like seriously though, I mean and this like covers a couple of the other ones here, but I guess we'll go into depth on more of what this actually means a bit later on. But cut it like staples, meaning I guess like individually powerful cards. So like they're just not fun to play with. They're not interesting to play with. Like I'm not sure that Soul Ring has ever made a casual game more interesting. Maybe it has. Maybe I'm missing a couple of use cases. I think actually there are maybe like a couple of decks where like playing Soul Ring is justifiable. But I don't like it's just like playing worse versions of those cards that are more situational and more in line with what you are actually playing as a strategy is just way more fun and makes for more interesting games and situations.
I would say certainly, I don't think turn 1 Soul Rings often make games more interesting. Certainly, like, later Soul Rings. Like, if you're,
sure,
you know, a little behind
I sandbag
or
my
something.
I sandbag my Soul Ring.
Not, like, if you're just behind and then you then go for draw a Soul Ring, and then it's like, oh, okay, maybe I can actually sort of play this game and catch up or whatever. But yeah, I think that Soul Ring only
unless you're on a Voltron deck, then I consent to all fast mana. HermitDruid said so.
Soul Ring makes games more interesting only if they were already imbalanced.
Just for the catch-up potential, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But like, I don't think a game of like 4 relatively well-balanced decks is ever made more interesting when one of the players opens Soul Ring.
So Morgan, what I'm hearing from you,
I've had like a lot of bad games that started like that.
What I'm hearing from you, Morgan, is the justification of not Soul Ring in casual, but of Dockside Extortionist in casual.
I mean, I guess. It definitely works a little bit differently.
Built-in comeback mechanics, that's all I'm saying. At least you can't turn 1 Dockside in casual. I mean, maybe you could. I don't know.
I guess you just lack imagination.
Do people play Simian Spirit Guide in lower powerless now? I can't imagine.
I feel like Simian Spirit Guide is not a good card if you're doing fair things.
Yeah, exactly, right?
We run Simian Spirit Guide and Elvish Spirit Guide in our Karuga builds.
Yeah, you do.
Yes.
I was about to say it.
I was about to say, well, there's that fucking asterisk again. I'm like, that's 3 CMC. Fuck you, that's tech. That allows me to operate one entire turn earlier.
You know what? When
So
you're
you're
locked
saying
out of
you run
play-
Simian Spirit Guide because it speeds your whole deck up by a turn.
Yeah.
Everything. Okay. So remember when I was like, if you're doing fair things with it, it's not a good card? Literally.
I don't do fair things with it.
Right.
No, I'm just like, Simian Sphere Guide's awesome. Sorry, I clocked back in for a second. I'm like, I just got a tweet and someone just messed up an entire board with Karuga, and I feel like a really happy dad right now. So I was just like, all I heard was like, Simian Sphere Guide. I'm like, no, play that in your Karuga builds. Go nuts. Cause violence.
Do the thing.
Do the thing.
Speed up your
Karuga
deck
out.
way more than it should be sped up. Play City of Traders. Play Ancient Tomb. Just get there.
Yeah, that's tech.
Oh my
Gemstone
God.
Caverns?
That's Ancient Tomb. That's tech.
No, Ancient Tomb. Like I have gone Gemstone
2021.
Caverns, Ancient Tomb, and like played Wood Elves on one, and I'm just staring at the table T-posing. Like I feel like the shit. Like yeah, turn one playing Karuga. Fuck all y'all.
Well, that is okay. Actually, I think that's actually a good discussion point because I think there are like two main ways to power down into like lower power EDH, which is either you carry down all of the broken stuff that you're trying to do in terms of like, oh yeah, I just want to jam stuff quickly and play these broken cards. But then like the way that you power down, you just don't have payoffs for that stuff, or like your payoffs are worse or more situational or more interactable. Versus like still playing some reasonable payoffs, but just like cutting down on card quality in the rest of the deck. I feel like those are both like fairly viable in terms of like the play patterns that emerge.
It
from building
doesn't
those
mean
decks.
that you can't have fun.
Yeah.
Or you can't go crazy.
You just have
you can go nuts.
You have to identify the core of what is fun to you in those strategies.
Yeah, 100%. That is so subjective.
And then like cut out all the fat that isn't that. Which I really think maybe I don't know. I feel like you had a point on this, Matt, but just like I like a lot of building for casual or lower power is just like drilling down to the identity of a deck and like committing super hard to it.
Yeah, 100% agree. And but there is kind of like a gotcha there though, because the more you drill down on the identity, the more you make strong single card decisions. And this actually ties back to a way earlier point where like you were talking about, Nathan's power levels, and it's like it's hard to say that you're playing a mid power deck when you're deciding on every single card that goes in the deck.
Right.
That's the kind of person. That's unfortunately the kind of person that I am. Like
and that's not a bad thing. I'm just saying it's like it's hard to say that it's mid power when like the tier, like the low power tier, is just so far from knowing all the possible cards that can fit in a slot.
Yeah, like when someone's like, "Oh, I just play it because I like the art," I'm just like, "Huh?" Like it's just like confused goose sounds. Huh? What? Like no, I can't. I like when everything comes and works together, and like that's why all my decks will naturally lean strong, cause like I'm a refiner. Like I get an idea and I sit there and I chisel at it for like 24 hours, 48 hours, and then like play it for 3 months, and I'm like, and that's all I'll think about. So they lean strong. So that's why I'm like, you need to find a way to especially if you're a cEDH player. We all lean high powered. Like we're all here for a reason. We all play this, like we play this meta for a reason. You got to find a way to kneecap yourself. Like all the shit we're gonna do, just unless you're playing like, I like it. Like when we're making decisions, we're making logical, like most of the time. I'm not saying like all the time. That's a broad sweeping generalization.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Most
the
of the time
entire
when people
cEDH,
like us,
the entire cEDH community operates completely logical at all points in time.
Yeah. We like to play high power. We like to play powerful things, consistent things. That's why we play cEDH. That's why we're here. So like you got to find a way to kneecap yourself. And like and then like at a certain point next thing is the rule zero conversation of like, hey, look, I gave myself this big kneecap. I do this. Do you want a game? And then hope that from there everything lines up because the rest is a crapshoot.
What's a good way to kneecap yourself besides companion that you personally choose?
Well, you don't need to have a companion to pick a theme. Like, my first all creatures build was a Marin list, and that was years before companion was a thing. Or like your list, for example, of like Amori all sorceries. Like that's building around like if you give yourself like you're like I'm not saying it's like it's lower it's not you're kneecapping yourself in the way of you're lessening the card pool. There's things that you're not going to be able to use. You don't have access to a lot of things in Golgari that you would normally want, but you're giving all that up for like you get some power back out of it. You get like building a strong take a strong strategy. Like okay, what would be a great example? It's like Hullen. Hullen is a super powerful card. So what do? Build a creatures build, or like if you like build just an all creatures build because like at least you're getting like I might have kneecapped myself by like all I'm playing is creatures, but like my commander is drawing me a card and giving me a land, all of them, or like building different themes around commanders are generally like a way to try and like lean yourself in one direction. Like Corvold Treasures is going to be strong. Like it might like if you resolve a Brass's Bounty in Corvold, if you build Corvold lands, like Corvold is a great like thing. Is like he might annoy people, but like whatever you're going to do, like he's gonna carry the back off of you. So like you can build around powerful commanders, but do suboptimal things,
or
not do the obvious.
You could build around not good commanders, and then bring them up a bit by like playing.
Yes. I like to have consistency, so yeah. that's I generally like. I also am the kind of person that gets attached to a commander. Like that's the thing about That's why I play commander is like I like the commander, and I'm like I like to have the consistency of this effect because especially because a lot of the times I'm going into a blind like if I'm streaming I'm going into kind of like a blind situation, or like I like to just make sure that like I have a game plan. The game plan is set. There's some kind of value engine in the command zone, so I feel good sitting down and doing whatever because I'm like, all right, I've prepared, I'm ready. But yeah, that's just how I build.
EDH rec shuffle random.
Oh yeah, all the time.
Always a classic.
Dude, go to EDH rec, look up the salt tier list, and just put all those cards in a deck. That's how you build good ones. Yeah, I mean, so I feel we do. Oh, let's get into the second half of this, I guess, actually. Because I feel like we covered a lot of the stuff that we currently have on our show notes. Maybe just like going a bit more in depth on this part here, which is just I think Morgan, you wrote this one down, but just like replacing self-enabling cards.
Yeah, so I think this comes especially if you're looking at like a reasonably thematic commander that has a cEDH or cEDH adjacent build. So I don't know. I like a good example for me to use might be something like Muldrotha, where the cEDH build it definitely has some cards that are good because you can play them multiple times and get value off Muldrotha, but those cards tend to be things like spell bombs and seals where they sacrifice themselves for an effect, and then like you don't need a card like Seal of Primordium. When you have Muldrotha, it's like I can just use this every turn and I don't need anything else. And obviously cards like that are just going to be very powerful. So if you try and move away from cards like that and towards cards that need to be enabled somehow. So like one of the ways you could do that is like play a bunch of value you play a whole bunch of value ETB creatures, and then you also have to find and maintain, some way to sacrifice them and get them to the graveyard so you can replay them. So like if you swap your package into one that tries to take advantage of sack outlets, for example, then now all of your synergy pieces are like kind of a 2-card combo with the commander rather than a 1-card. When I say combo, I don't mean, game ending, combo the way you might mean it in a cEDH game. I mean, like, in order for this to be really powerful, you need it, the commander, and another card that enables the two to work together. And you can still have a fairly decent density of those. But certainly it will hamper the consistency a little bit, which is generally what you want if you're trying to power down. But it will, you'll also get to essentially just go deeper and play more interesting and possibly even more, powerful cards. Powerful in context of, when you set this up and pull it off, it does more for you.
Yeah, not independently powerful stuff.
Yeah, not independently powerful or most optimal or cheapest, but you can sort of, I guess basically you try and make everything bigger, and that generally means, slower and less flexible and adaptable, but also it does mean when everything works, you can kind of hit harder. And that, provides both a built-in sort of outlet in terms of, or safety valve in terms of, you actually have, first of all, you have a couple different things you can go after. In Muldrotha, you can't really remove the seals unless you have a way to exile them from a graveyard. Whereas if you, can keep the sack outlet out of play, then potentially that gives you a window to do something to powerful ETB creatures, or if you can stop the reanimation effects or things like that. It just means that there's more surfaces for people to interact, and there is some inconsistency, which is actually a good thing when you're trying to power down.
Yeah, I mean, it overlaps with a lot of stuff cutting stables, but also, yeah, I do agree with the idea of building in interaction points into your deck, because nobody really wants to play against a deck that is built to be as uninteractable as possible. When you're that is the goal in cEDH, because it's a powerful thing to be doing, is that if you can reduce the attack surface on your deck's plan, then you're just gonna win more games because people just can't stop you. But that's not what makes games fun. And it's not what, especially isn't what makes games fun in lower power levels, especially mid power and stuff like that. So I definitely agree that yeah, you want to build interaction points into win cons, which is coincidentally also a sub part or sub topic, which is just building decks in ways that make your play patterns less annoying, rather than you're basically optimizing for fun in the game rather than actually winning when you're going down.
I do have to say, this might be a hot take, but it's really hard to build in interaction points into your deck when you're running counter spells.
Yeah.
It's kind of difficult. So, have a reasonable God, how have I been saying this? Kneecap yourself in the way that is appropriate to you having that power.
Yeah. I mean, and there are ways to do that even while playing counter magic. You can just play a bunch of stuff like exclude, which only hits creatures, or you can do you can play a bunch of conditional counter magic or that kind of stuff. So maybe it's not always on, or play counter magic that only works I don't know, only on what your opponents are doing to sort of disrupt their stuff rather than stop them from interacting with you.
I don't know, man. I played the amount of casual that I've played over the last little bit. There's only you die to enough Crater Hoof Behemoths, you start feeling a little different about Force of Will.
Okay, so I think.
Dude, what do you mean? Just play Stifle.
I think what me and Matt.
Oh God, please don't hurt me.
I think what me and Matt are getting at here is that it's you can go too far with counter magic in that if you're playing, like, it just makes your deck more resilient, which isn't necessarily the end goal in casual, right? So, like, if you can find ways to play counter magic or play interaction that doesn't also make your deck more resilient, it's going to end up in better games because you're going to be interactive with the rest of the table, but you're not necessarily shoring up your own strategy. So you're still, like, maintaining that there's still, like, a bunch of ways to stop you, and other people can, like, try to attack those vectors without you also just having protection for all of that when you go for it, which can lead to, like, feel bad moments in a lot of games, right? Where, like, you, like, nominally you're like, oh, like, you can remove this piece when I try to go off, and then, like, I just can't go off anymore. And they try to do that 2 times, and you have 2 pieces of counter magic for it. And it's just like, well, okay, well, that didn't really matter because you had counter magic for it anyway.
Yeah, it's like I figured out a way to interact with your strategy that feels good for both players, except you have this universal answer that makes that no longer applicable.
Yeah. I mean, so another one that I also have under this category, I'm not sure how applicable it is to the category, maybe, but I also prefer to do stuff like cut tutors. One of the things that I actually take very heavily into consideration when building casual decks a lot of the time is to actually minimize the amount of shuffling that I have to do. Both because I have tiny hands, but also because it's annoying to take up, like, time in a game. So, like, cutting, like, fetch lands out of your deck specifically can be really good for this, where you just being able to play the stuff out of your hand, or, like, just drawing cards instead of tutoring, leads to a lot, like, snappier of a play experience and less just, like, dead time. But also, this serves the dual purpose. If you're cutting, like, actual card tutors, like demonic tutor and stuff, it's also making your deck, like, less consistent, less vulnerable to stuff, which again makes for more interesting games than just, like, always having access to the best thing to be doing.
So my thought on tutors in casual, and this is something that I've had quite a bit of talk on Twitter about, is if you're not worried about AB combos or going for combos or doing a lot of things, so, like, tutors don't necessarily have to be bad. If you're not going for a win, if you're not going for something, like, a lot of the times, like, especially if you just say what the fuck you're tutoring for, like, sometimes, like, a game is like in a horrible spot, and you're like, I'm gonna tutor for a board wipe because we really need that. And it's like, if you're not going for anything that's going to win the game, a tutor all of a sudden just sounds like it can't be a land drop. It, like, honestly, it can just be a, like, Sylvan Scrying or whatever the hell it is. Like that's, like, if you're playing a tutor as a Sylvan Scrying, is it really that bad? Like
Also, if you're tutoring for a board wipe, I feel like the majority of the play group's going to be happy for you to take the time to tutor.
Like I'm going for a damnation. Like, I'm like a lot. Like, Commander is one of the best things and the worst things about it is a social game. So, like, where, like, clearly the decks that I play sound like would be just abhorrent to, like, a lot of people. But because of the conversation and like working and finding a group that you want to play with, it becomes a lot more of an enjoyable process.
Yeah, I guess I would also say on the tutor front, that can be, like, a good sort of metric if you have tutors in your deck and you like just keep a, informal mental tally of what am I finding with these tutors? And if the answer is, like, always the same thing, maybe that's a sign that, your deck could use some amount of retooling to be less focused around that card that you're tutoring, or
unless it's unless you're building around here comes the asterisk again, like, except for the exceptions, like, if your synergy is about, like, I want to play wild pair, I'm not gonna bat an eye if you tutored for wild pair. Like, I'm not. Like, it was like my entire deck is based around power and toughness. I don't know, like, total power and total 4. Like, and, like, I tutored for like, wild pair. Like, okay, you're not ending the game. We're about to start the engine's online. We're about to see the deck do the thing with the card that it's built around. So it's like it's all like except for the exceptions, except for this, like again, rule zero talk and like that. Like again, with the thing with like worst thing about being the social format is a lot of the times you're gonna have to you're gonna have to talk to these people. You're gonna have to talk to the people at the table. You're gonna have to talk to them before it. You're gonna have to talk to them during it, or else shit usually happens, and not good shit. But like, you're gonna have a better time if you're just socializing and joking and being like, look, if like the feeling of like the communal vibes at the table, if you just like heads down go did the right thing, which is like I'm going to use this demonic tutor, I'm going to search for a board wipe, I'm going to do this. It's like, and you just hardly do that with no interaction to the table. It's going to come off like, oh, that was a tutor. There's going to be salt. There's going to be whatever. But if you go, hey, this shit is getting wild on here. I need a board wipe. I'm going to use this demonic tutor. Show them the card. I'm going to go get a board wipe. Also, like, someone might have a counter in hand, and they're like, actually, no, I want that board wipe to happen, so please use your tutor, and I will protect your board wipe. Or I will protect that tutor that you were getting that board wipe from. Like, you never know. Like, you can collaborate. It's like, it's a 4-player social game. If you're not talking, you're doing something wrong. Like, I am not the best, like, Magic player by any stretch of the fucking imagination. Like, I'm not. I'm like, but I'm good with people, and like, that's what, like, why I, like, succeed at Commander. Anyway.
Yeah, I guess, sorry, what I was saying, I probably shouldn't have said if you're tutoring the same thing every time, maybe that's a problem. I guess, like, if you're tutoring the same thing every time, you should be aware of that, right? If you
100%.
If you built your deck around wild pair and you're like, every creature in my deck has the same total power and toughness, so I can play like this wild pair toolbox deck, and then you always tutor for wild pair, that sure. But if you're playing like some, let's say you're playing like a reanimator deck, and you're like, this is my reanimator deck, but I'm only ever entombing like this, this target. Like, I'm only ever entombing, I don't know, Shieldred or whatever it is. Like, every time I have an entomb, I go for that. That's the sort of thing where it's like, okay, is that, are you trying to play reanimator, or are you trying to play, turbo that one card?
Yeah.
And maybe the answer is you're trying to play turbo whatever that card was, but
that particular play just screams to me pub stomp. Like, if you feel like you're profitably, sorry, 1 second. Like, if you feel like you're always profitably tutoring for Shieldred or Vorinclex or whatever, and like that's kind of the idea behind your deck, like, you're probably just playing against a lot of decks that aren't at the same power level. Like, those aren't necessarily build-arounds. Like, maybe Shieldred is more than Vorinclex.
The thing about those two is that, or like those two, like in particular, like turboing them out. Like, Vorinclex has 100% a thing around them. It's just like, if you want to do stupid powerful shit, don't affect other people's boards. Don't fuck with other people. Like, don't try and lock them out. Don't try and do multiple stuff. But I've turboed out a Villas on like, and then like copied it with the Sakashima and sat there with 2 Villases going like, I dare anybody to swing at me. Like, this was on like turn 4 or 5, but like it was hilarious. It was just like paying black and just like, again, this is the kind of like Magic that I like. I'm not going anywhere. Like, I'm not doing anything. That's the thing. You can go crazy. You can go ape shit if you don't like really going anywhere. You can go nowhere real fast. It's fun. Like, copying two Villases and then paying a black and then just vomiting your deck into your hand and like, okay, well, I don't know what the hell I'm gonna do now. Like, I've girl bossed a little too close to the sun. But like, just like, if your version of Magic is go nuts, like be ballistic and have like I play Nas strategies in cEDH, so like I like to get a little fucking wild. But yeah, like, I don't know, like, it really is, like, you're allowed to play with powerful cards and do crazy things. It's just, like, what other people, like, instead of turboing out a Vorinclex, turbo out, like, a Regal Behemoth. Like, you get the Vorinclex, tap your double mana, but you don't, like, shit on everybody's cereal.
Well, and I feel like this is sort of close to what Morgan was getting at anyway with that point. which
Yeah,
is
yeah,
that,
yeah. No,
like,
that's why I
when you're
yeah.
hyper tutoring for this stuff, consider just swapping it out for like slightly lower power stuff, or like just something else entirely, so that like when you are tutoring for this thing, that like when you're playing this deck where your tutor should be like a toolbox suite tutor, that like make it a toolbox suite tutor, and if you can't, then like don't play tutors. It's either like don't play tutors or diversify your tutor targets, or like your tutor, if you're only going for one tutor target, it can't be just like a game ending tutor target. It has to be like a core part of your strategy that just lets you play the game.
Sorry, yeah. When I first started playing EDH in general, I built a Marin deck, and like I was like, okay, buried alive for the same combo, reanimate, win, and then like didn't quite understand why people were upset about that, and I was like, oh, it took me a minute to get around to that. So, like, just like tutoring to directly to win and doing it every time is just not necessarily at the idea of what you want to be doing in a non-competitive setting. However, tutoring for like value engines or like board wipes or interaction and like is definitely something that you should. I think yes, you should be playing Demonic Tutor in casual, like, but just know what you're doing with it.
Also, Demonic Tutor can kind of be what you described in the Tasker example. Like, it could be a political discussion, and the table could be the one that's deciding
they can give it back to
your
you.
best
It's
tutors.
Yeah, like you can just like ask people for your Demonic Tutor back. I'm like, I need to go get this out of my deck. Can you give me this, or else this guy's gonna do this? And you're like, you just end up sitting there like the puppet masters, and then it's like turn whatever, and you're like, how did you win? And you're like, because you literally did everything that I wanted you to do all game. That's how. And you feel great. It's great. It's a good feeling. Like that's why again, Tasker is reporting.
Yeah.
Are there any like last topics you guys want to talk about here on the list that we may have missed?
I think we covered most of them, right? Unless everybody else has stuff. Actually, yeah, I feel like we even covered we actually had another like topic on this stuff, which was sort of the inverse of this, about like how you don't power deck or power down decks, but I feel like we also like covered a lot of that in the process of talking about how to power down a list. Yeah, I mean, it really just boils down to like, don't get attached to staples. Be okay with swapping out your generically powerful cards for cards that are more reliant on your strategy or your commander to do their thing, which again makes it more interesting. Build interaction points into your deck so that like you like it doesn't feel to the rest of the play group like they just can't do anything when you get rolling. Like make it feel like it's a back and forth at least, and yeah, just try to build decks to be fun and not the most winning deck possible. Obviously, you can still build decks to win. I mean, the game has to end. Somebody's got to win the game, but yeah, I feel like the primary goal of it should be to win in a fun way, or win in a satisfying way, maybe more accurately.
Yeah. Like I had a very vicious my version of casual Brawlin and Shabraz deck. It was built around Shabraz, not Brawlin, and like the entire point was to wheels, make Shabraz huge, and like one-shot people with commander damage. My backup win condition was wheeling like a motherfucker until Shabraz was like a 60-60 or 60-something or odd, and dropping the fattest Chandra's Ignition on everybody's. And like it was just so flashy and showy that everybody's just like, what the hell? But like it was like people liked the win condition was so over the top, blowing everybody up with the laser beam shark was just like everybody's like, yeah, okay, that's how you win a game of casual. That's how you do it. Like a fat changer's ignition after doing a whole bunch of nonsense and like blowing everybody up. It's like, if not, just smack everybody with a huge shark. It's fun. But I took that apart because wheels are contentious in casual EDH, and I was tired of the drama.
Also a thing. Yeah, I mean, I feel like actually that is also just sort of a small thing, is that just be aware of what cards are controversial in your list. You don't have to take them out necessarily. Just be aware. There's always
People
some
like
stuff that
Winter
people.
Orb, right?
Yeah, dude. Oh my god. Just
No, but
Pretty
it's
much
casual because
yeah.
I'm not breaking parity on it.
see.
Oh god, that I.
See, I'm not winning the game.
That would be like
so
an
it's
instant like
casual.
concede. Like concede, I'm done. Okay, thank you very much. Gonna go play. Actually, no. To be no, that would kill me inside. That would sap my will to live. I would concede if it was just like an au natural winter orb, and we're just planning on sitting through that. Like, thank you. There, I will go spend time with my dog. That is way better time than spent here.
I will go have fun, and you can go rethink your life choices.
Yeah,
Anyway.
exactly. I'm like, yeah, exactly.
By the way, if you want a casual wheel, play Flux. That's my hot tip of the day.
What is? Do I even know what it does? Flux.
I'm a big fan of
that's a
Valkyrie
great one,
Awakening.
actually. That's actually pretty great.
Solves all the problems
Yeah.
that make wheels salty.
Isn't there also like a 4-mana one that does that as well? I don't know. Anyway. Well, I think that's about it for our main topic. If nobody
Play
else
companions.
has anything
They're
to go
fun.
on. Yeah, exactly.
TLDR.
So now that we're done with
Yeah.
that, we I think are going to be moving on to everybody's favorite segment, gut check.
Good check.
Yeah, check.
Good check.
Good check.
That was-
Good check.
That was a
good
rough
check.
one, Matt.
That was really rough, yeah. I've been trying to sneak in sips of water, but
Yeah. All right.
And
So
you tried to sneak one in the middle of
In
saying
the
good
middle, yeah.
check.
all happening at once. All right. So
I just waterboarded
Hot
myself. with good check.
check.
I got one for the table for the cast.
nice.
Let's see. So the question is, what is the EDH deck, preferably non-cEDH, that you will never ever 0% ever play? You'll never lay your hands on. Like it might be because you just
Oh
don't find
god,
it
am I gonna
fun.
do this on main?
It might be because you just don't find it fun, or you just find it abhorrent, or whatever. But it's gonna be a deck that you would never touch with a 10-foot
I'll
pole.
am I
never.
gonna
I'll never
Anybody
play
that knows me
Marisol.
is gonna know exactly what I'm gonna say.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Kraken Sakashima. On God, I love
I
Ken.
thought didn't you say that you desperately wanted
Yeah.
to play Manual Storm?
Yeah. But like, I like as the fucking poet Meatloaf once said, I would do anything for love, but I won't do
But
that.
I won't do that.
So can
yeah,
I,
no.
can I ask,
Like I've tried building out a. I tried building out like a version of it, or just like gold fishing, playing around, and like flipping that many coins. Like this is the man had to make an app for this fucking thing. Okay, so like you like a couple of my friends play this deck. You sit through like that the Sakashima turn, like it saps your like, and they don't win. Like it's one of those like yeah. Like just show me 3 Karks. Okay, I'm good. No, I'm good.
It's political because it's in your best interest to help the player do their turn faster.
No, 100%. Like 100%. I have tracked storm count for them. I've done everything. I'm just being like, I'm sitting there cheering them on because I'm like, fucking kill me. Like, just show me the Git probe, and I will like literally explain the loop to everybody else and tell them why they should concede right now. Like. But like it's an amazing deck. I think it's fantastic. It's a lot of fun for the people that enjoy it. It's just like also the stress of like trying to like do all that many things at once. Like for some reason, Noz is just being like, no fucking issue. But, like, I don't want to, like, the amount of physical labor you need to do playing that deck just literally gives me heart palpitations, and, like, not in, like, an insulting way. I love the deck. It's just I can't play it because, like, I'm going to have a fucking heart attack, and when I play against it, I only like to play against, like, very specific players that I know that love the deck, and I also, more importantly, enjoy their company. So at least when they're storming off, we're going to crack jokes. Like, and it's become, like, especially, like, a running joke as I'm getting my skull kicked in by Clark and Sakashima on when they turn to Clark and Sakashima, and I'm like, oh, great, I'm in fucking danger. Like, we turned it into a joke, but, like, you have to try and enjoy yourself, or else it's just going to be, like, you're going to sit there for a while. You're going to sit there for a long while. And, like, it's not something like a Noz, where you can easily go, Noz, here's the 30 card. Like, yes, Noz can eat up a shit ton of time, 100%. I get that, 100%. But you can also go, Noz, look at these 25 cards and go to, like, most reasonable cEDH players and go, unless you have interaction from this point, I've got this, and this, which is going to get me to this win. So if you have any, like, then you're like, yeah.
And generally, even the Nozes, like, the occasional Noz that fails, it generally fails, like, out of the gate, not they take 10 actions and then go, like...
Yeah, it's like, dead Noz, okay,
it's
pass
like,
turn, womp womp.
It's like, I Noz... It's like, I Noz, and then it's like, oh, well, I don't have any way to, like, get the initial mana, so, like, I'm just kind of done here. I'll, like, play the couple artifacts I drew and, like, a blocker to try and not die, and then that's...
Yeah. And like,
then I'm
and
done.
So, like,
whereas, like,
with
Krark Sakashima, it's like, I'm gonna flip, I'm gonna cast Twin Flame, like, 5 times, and then, like, on the 6th, I win all my flips and it's discarded. Like, well, guess we're done.
Like, yeah.
So, I actually...
Yeah.
Nathan, I actually have a question for this, though. So, you're saying you wouldn't touch that deck. Well, I think we've only heard discussion around the cEDH version of the deck. Is there any version of Krark Sakashima that you would ever touch? Or do you just find the entire playstyle?
Bro, I was watching a friend of mine play a budget version, and I'll tell you one thing. It looked exactly like the fucking cEDH deck. Like, it looked exactly like a Jessica's Will copied 100 times is a Jessica's Will copied 100 times.
And
Right
I
of
feel
flank,
like that's like
you can build a $200 cEDH like cEDH adjacent. Like, it's Desperate Ritual, and like all these rituals are commons. It's like, huh.
I also feel like that's a deck where, like, making it budget and making it less powerful actually only exacerbates the problems.
Yeah, like, I tried building that as a
it's like,
Voltron
oh no, don't worry, it
cantrip
kills
deck.
you slower. Like,
I tried building it as a Voltron cantrip deck, and it was still too much to handle for me. It's really hard. It's a really convoluted one-card win condition with Jessica's Will. It's a really it's a really convoluted one-card win condition with Git Probe, and that's a fucking common. I don't think there's any way to make it less, by the nature of it, less of a hassle. Like, no matter what you do with that, it's gonna be a hassle. Like, it's gonna be like you're in for a wild ride. Like, so, like, again, like, it's the one deck that I'm always just like, that's gonna like sap some emotional fucking. And like, the worst thing is if they don't win, they sit there with the fierce and the oh god. Worst thing is losing to a Mog Salvage, or a Mog Salvage and a Deflecting Swat and a Fierce Guardianship, because they can just infinitely recur that. You can't play shit. You can't cast anything until they eventually draw the one thing. But until then, it's just like, I'm gonna fucking Mog Salvage out for free all your shit, counter all your shit, Deflecting Swat all your shit. GG.
Yeah,
it's like as you were explaining as the play patterns with Cody, where it's like if Cody doesn't win, he's exceptionally good at not losing by like dragging the game out to time, like in a competitive environment. That's almost how I feel about Krark and Sakashima. It's like, I can't win until I draw my Git Probe, but I have Deflecting SWAT and Fierce Guardianship in hand, and until I get that, nothing's gonna happen.
The deck
we just have to wait
redefines
this out.
attrition.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like 100%. Like, I will wait this out and like draw out. Like, I will go card for card with you, but like, I've got I've got free counter magic, free removal, free. I'm gonna ruin your fucking day.
Well, and I have free counter magic that's gonna come back to my hand every time I cast.
You might
it.
bet infinitely recurred, yeah, or like not infinitely recurred, but like unless you like lose some flips or like
or they counter with
and
it
like
or whatever. But
and that also just adds a certain amount of physical. Like if you think shuffling your deck, is it's gonna take time. You think tutoring? Imagine having a whole turn where you have to have a sub game of playing like coin flip.
Yeah, man.
It's just
nothing,
like you're
nothing like just playing sub games of Magic inside of Magic.
Yeah. Like I'm all for like just play like you know dancing with myself, but
if only
like,
Kashima could play Scheherazade.
Yeah, I was about
they
to
basically
say,
do.
Like just why don't we just fucking copy a bunch of Scheherazades?
Look, I'm not gonna sit here and just shit on fucking like Karkin Sakashima. Like I absolutely love that deck. It's just like if you don't respect it, if you think it. If you go like if you laugh at Karkin Sakashima, it's gonna ruin your. It may not win. It's gonna ruin your fucking day though.
So
unfortunately, I mean, not unfortunately, but I think that Karkin Sakashima kind of just is the quickest manual storm deck, and if that's kind of your avenue, then
I don't know that that's true. It's probably. I don't think it's the quickest manual storm.
I think if you're looking for a
definitely
specific style of
then.
storm where you're like actually storming, Karkin Sakashima uniquely solves the issue of not being able to run 4 of cards. Like as somebody that's been desperately wanting to play Gift Ungiven in like a 60 card format, Karkin Sakashima solved that issue in Commander about not being able to run 4 copies of Pyretic Ritual or Desperate Ritual and not being able to run these many copies. All you have to do is just so instead of like running multiple copies, you just cast them a fucking bunch of times and recur them to hand. So like I think it's really cool. I just personally have ADHD and I like sitting through like that kind of thing is like, and it's like I do it for the people that I love.
Yep.
But like that's fine.
So
yeah, if you're gonna take all that time, at least put on a good show.
That
yeah, and like enjoy the people you play Magic with, and all of a sudden like a combat, even if you're just like memeing on your friend while he's while he's winning, like just go for it. Like if you're having fun and it's a good environment, like losing is a lot less enjoyable. But like, god damn it, still like getting Mog salvaged to death is a fucking brutal way to die.
Now that was certainly an in-depth answer to why Sakashima.
mini topic.
I'm not sure if we're gonna get another one of that depth, but we'll try, Matt.
No, I tried to sneak it in earlier, but this is kind of a jab. But the commander I'll never play is Maricil the Pretender.
You just can't find a way to make it
I just
fun,
can't.
huh?
I just can't. I mean, if I had to survive, to live, I would.
You probably wouldn't.
What about Maricil?
You have to have
that.
conviction in your ideals, Matt. Come on.
Yeah, all creatures means that you don't have exactly Nev's disc.
Yeah.
The deck could still be obscenely
Yeah.
toxic. That being said, I have like theory crafted some Maricil decks that try and leverage, like I was like working on like a reanimator version and like a tokens version. But certainly I could see why people wouldn't want to play it the way I have it built. I don't need to pretend.
Good stuff.
It's not as bad as we meme it. I do want to say, but sometimes it's rough.
Pretty bad though.
All right, Morgan, what you got?
Mine is old faithful fucking Omnath Locus of Rage.
Just no.
What?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Everyone who ever played Omnath Locus of Rage against me.
Well, I have
It's
to
the
look up
same
which
deck?
one this is.
It's the
Is that the
green-red
Gruul
one,
one that
yeah.
makes 5/5?
This is
Angry
the
Omnath,
cool
yes.
one, yeah.
It's I'm gonna take advantage of the fact that you're not allowed to destroy my lands, and then my deck, all of my deck just gets me more lands, and then my commander just inevitably wins when I have enough lands. So my deck gets a resource that you're not allowed to disrupt, and once I get enough of that resource, I win, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's the most toxic play pattern, like, imaginable, at least for me, in a casual environment. The only way to beat it is to kill it faster than it's socially acceptable to kill it. And you can't even board wipe because they still get bolts.
There's just no winning.
The only winning move is not to play.
Yeah.
Wow. Protest.
You're raging about this, and I'm sitting here about like, wow, I really want to resolve escape shift.
Yeah, man.
There are two types of people in this world. Yeah. I'm like, oh yeah, like, oh, whenever a land dies, it bolts something. Oh.
Honestly, I
it's
actually would challenge you to that.
Oh, when you're okay, never mind. I thought I was about to.
But I mean, when you escape shift, you get a 5/5 for each land you have, and then when the 5/5s die, you bolt.
Yeah.
So like, you put an enormous board out that they literally can't remove without dying.
Okay, so what you're saying is I should scape shift with Rhythm of the Wild on the field with everything giving it haste, attack with all the lands that I made into 5/5s, and then at end of turn sacrifice them to a Phyrexian altar and bolt everybody for the remaining damage.
No, I'm saying, why didn't you already have a Warstorm Surge out so that all your elementals dealt 5 to something when they came in?
Oh, yeah, no. So, I guess I'm a fucking both a masochist and a sadist, because what you're describing sounds like a good way to die.
And here's
I mean, that one's fine,
difference.
because at least you actually just die, but...
No, yeah, I guess, it's just, there's a certain level of EDH that I enjoy. I guess we get across in this process. I just enjoy a certain level of EDH. Like, today is a good day to die. If you die to some, like, if someone killed me like that, or like, imagine, like, they had an impact tremors on board while they're scape shifting. It's just like, just like that level of nonsense. It's like, I'm going to scape shift all my lands. I'm going to make a whole bunch of hasty 5/5s. I'm going to punch you all in the fucking face. I'm then going to sacrifice them all to bolt you for value. And I've got a whole bunch of leftover mana, and I'm going to cast, like, I don't know, fucking reshape the earth or some shit to, like...
But see, the play pattern that's actually way less fun is that they play Omnath. The next turn, they play, like, I don't know, they play, like, a Kodama's Reach and, like, an extra land because they have some, like, Explore effect. And make 3 5/5s, and then you're like, cool, I guess I'll bite the bullet, I'll wrath your board, you bolt me for 12, and then they just recast Omnath and do it all over again, and you're just like, alright, I guess we're playing this game now.
Great.
Like, sure, it, like any deck, it can have, like, flashy and, like, exciting and powerful plays, but the basic play pattern is just... like, the most demoralizing thing where you're like, okay, well, I can't afford to take the 12 from the bolts, so I guess I'll kill the Omnath and then wrath the board separately. And then, because literally all of their deck was just ramp spells that they were playing to get 5/5s, they're just gonna cast Omnath and do it again.
Yes, I might want to build on that.
You're just taking the whole tea for Morgan.
I challenge you, man. Actually, play Omnath for more than like one game, and it has to be more than one game, and the novelty will go away.
Good old the Cody of mid power is what they call him.
You say this, but I do run Kurugadama as my casual deck, which is a 3-card combo in the command zone.
Yeah, I'm actually it suffers from one of like 100 of the things that make Omnath bad, you know?
All right. I think for myself, honestly, it might just be AC/Tadiova. I just don't think that it's particularly interesting in any form. It's just the worst of what cEDH has, or not cEDH even, just EDH in general has to offer, which is just like blue-green value piles that reward you for things that you were already doing.
Dude, the guy
So,
who
like,
plays
by proxy,
the
Holland?
guy who plays Sithis says that he can't play.
Well, no. Okay, so you're not already putting 30 enchantments in your deck. You're definitely already putting 30 lands in your deck. Is the difference, right?
Okay. Fair.
I find that like while Corvold and Hullen are like egregiously overtuned for what they're actually like supposed to do,
Yeah, it's
there's-
not just literally land.
there's some dynamicism
Turning
to it.
every
Like,
one of
there's-
your
you
lands
can-
into a
like,
cantrip is kind of
there's
ridiculous.
some dynamicism in that, like Corvold, there's different ways at least to get the sack trigger. So you can play treasures, you can play like an aristocrats build, you can play like all this other stuff. Hullen's a bit more linear, but still like you're still doing like different stuff. Tadiel and Aesir, literally you're just playing like rampant growths and explosive vegetation that you're already playing, and then you just draw cards off of them, and you just cast more ramp spells off of those cards that you draw to draw more cards. Like, it's just not, there's nothing interesting about it.
Play them in the 99 of another deck, and they become a lot more or a lot less egregious and more interesting.
Because you
yeah.
just don't have access. You have to make the trade-off of like drawing into them or finding them, and then actually like casting them, and then they can go away forever if somebody exiles them instead of just being able to.
I've wanted to play
them.
that over slime, the new slime lord, or the new slime, not lord, but the new land slime thingy out of Innistrad.
Yeah, the life nullum kind of commander. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like that seems like it would be awesome with AC and Tatiova on board, like being able to like crack a bunch of fetches and then like return the slime back to hand to play a whole bunch more fetches. Like, yeah.
Yeah, of the like land-oriented Simic commanders, I think Slogurk is definitely the spiciest.
Is that the?
Yeah,
that's
that
the
looks like a lot of
right?
fun.
Just what?
What? Oh no. Am I? Oh, that's the new one.
You're thinking
Yeah,
of
yeah,
Slurk.
Slurk, yeah.
Slurk just has the much better name. Yes,
You're right. We've been getting a lot of oozes.
Yep. I mean, who's opposed to that though? Ooze is a top tier. Top
It's
tier
a pretty
tribe.
good one.
It's a great tribe. Anyway, I think that wraps it for gut check. Next, we're going to move on to listener questions. We have a couple of patron listener questions here that I think we're going to get through. Again, for listener questions, if you don't know, if you're not in the know, patrons get access to a patron listener questions channel that they get priority on getting answered every episode. So if you have a burning desire to have a question answered on an episode, consider checking out the Patreon. Anyway, shilling done. Getting into the actual listener questions. We got one here. Matt, do you want to read off this first one?
Sure, but before I read it, I kind of copy these questions in before realizing that our two patron listener questions are like the same
Yes.
one. So I'll just read them both out because I feel like we're going to be saying the same things, unless you guys disagree.
Why don't we
Okay.
read them
No,
both out and we can
similar
answer
enough
them
to-
separately if we see fit.
Sure. What are some of the cast's pet plays in high power EDH? What I mean are plays that you take more satisfaction in than is reasonable. An example of one of mine is copying a fetch land activation with Rings of Bright Earth. Nice. What is one card that either encapsulates you as a player or is your absolute favorite pet card to play? So by the way, that was Fukins on the first one and then Chili P for the second one.
I feel like both of mine are the same for these, and that's just anything and everything bonus round.
Yeah, actually can
Oh,
confirm.
that's so
Can't
good,
confirm,
man. Yeah,
Zada
plus one.
intensifies.
Bonus round is sweet.
Yeah, like I don't know, just there's so many silly things. Like you just play bonus round, and then you're like, oh wait a minute, this like regrowth just kind of like accidentally goes infinite, or like you know the type of cards that are like discard as a cost do something like Pirate's Pillage, or the new one that's an instant, or even just like a Cathartic Reunion. Doubling up on things that have costs that aren't just mana.
Yeah.
There's so many, Narset's reversal shenanigans. Just always good times.
I don't know what would encapsulate me as a player, but certainly one of my favorite things to do is to Aether Violence stuff in Instant Speed to mess with people. Aether Violence in a Gilded Drake is a unique feeling in cEDH because it's nobody knows what's coming out of the Aether Vial until it does, and once it does, it's too late to throw a counter spell at it. So it's just like, all right, well, I guess this is happening.
Reed, this answer is such a lie because we know that your favorite thing is to activate Aether Vial and not put anything.
That is
in.
also correct.
Yeah.
I love jump
Activate
checking
Aether
the
Vial.
table. End of turn
Just to make
cycle
people
1 on
sweat.
0. Activate Aether Vial. Does anybody have a response? Great, I'll go to my turn. The classic. Gotta keep them on their toes,
Yeah,
man.
I can maybe split this one up. So I have a satisfying play for me that is almost always never advantageous is waiting to block with something that can sacrifice itself just to fog. I'll irrationally wait too long for that. And I gotta say, I mean, the bonus round pick was really good. I'm kind of distracted by that now, so
Just
I might have to plus
just
one on
latch
the
onto that one, yeah.
the pet card. Yeah.
I don't know. I know what my favorite thing to do is. I love clones.
You just love cloning stuff.
Yeah.
I
like
fucking
trains.
I love cloning stuff. Like, cause like nothing makes you feel like more big brain than like cloning somebody else's shit and then like outplaying their deck. It feels so good. Like I was playing against Cameron's Corvold deck a few times, and like I repeatedly would flash in like stunt double copying his Corvold and then like Harrow or do some other shit, and like he just like tempo, like someone like reaches it, like, you know, casts a whole bunch of mana to like pull out some like giant creature that has some giant effect, and you're like, okay, that's cool, and you like copy it for 4 mana. It's like, get fucked. Like, it's just like, and like I'm already playing good cards like a lot of the time, so like what's better than having 1 Risen Reef? I don't know, 2.
If there was like a Venn diagram of like Timmy, Johnny, and Spike, clones would be right in the middle.
Yeah. Like, I love to do stupid shit with clones, and it's like so satisfying. Like, right now I'm on 2 Sakashima companion clone decks. One is Karuga, Sakashima, and Kodama, like 3 CMC and above. And the other one that I'm working on is Sakashima, Ikra, Umori. So like, cause like cloning Umori a whole bunch of times, you end up with like massive cost reducers and casting stupid shit for free, which is like so fun. But like, they can also be somebody else's really busted commander, and like, I don't know, they just never feel dead, because like, unless like the board is just being freshly wrathed, and then like, then they're like, okay, then they suck. But like they usually don't. They usually just fire. They usually just feel good to play. They usually just, I just love clones.
Checks
I
out.
definitely love the whole thing of when you have a bunch of clones in your deck and you have the plan of like, I'm gonna clone, you know, whatever it is, and then you're like, but I guess I could just clone whatever busted thing you just put out too.
Exactly. Like, it's so
and I
it's
feel
so
like-
flexible.
I feel like people, when they know that your deck like has a plan of like, oh, I'm gonna be cloning like this card a whole bunch, they just like totally tunnel vision on that fact, and then like forget that, oh yeah, clones can also clone like whatever my busted thing that I'm about to play.
So like,
is.
I become like a clone connoisseur, like, to get inside like the head of like someone who thinks about clones too much. Like, I've found that like the clones that only clone your stuff, though they might be like 1 mana cheaper, they only clone your stuff. Whereas like a lot of the times you'd rather in casual, because you probably have the extra mana, spend 1 more to grab something that somebody else is playing, rather than something like that you're also playing. With the exception of the one that flips into a Glasspool Mimic. Also, it's really fun like tailoring my clones, because in Karuga Dama I'm choosing like objectively good clones, like Altered Ego that can't be countered, Stunt Double because it's flash, yada yada yada. But in my Umori clones deck, I'm trying to pull out all the ones that are like predominantly colorless and not colored pips. Because like once you have 3 copies of Umori, well, once you have Umori and like like the Sakashima copying Amori, like all your clones cost 2 generic mana less. So like you might not want to reach into something like that might objectively be a better clone like like the other Sakashima, because it's blue. So you're only getting 2 cost reduction out of it, where you'd rather play like something like, I don't know, Gigantoplasm, which is like 3 or 3 blue, because like you can cast it for which is like, it's a worse clone, but you can cast it for like just blue in Omori. So that's very fun. If you haven't made multiple copies of Prime Speaker Zagana for 1 blue mana, or like evoked a Muldrifter for 1 blue mana, it's like, whoo, good feel.
What a high.
Oh, it's a multiple icon.
Unrelated note, WotC, print my Orvar clone, you cowards.
Actually, this
I
would
just want a clone that has toughness and isn't legendary and can clone stuff that I don't control.
Yeah.
That's all I want.
Alrighty then. I think we'll cut listener questions there. Good stuff. Sorry, yeah, just like keep it in the same place as you would usually be, or just like at the beginning of the episode at all.
Okay.
But yeah. Well, that about wraps it up for this episode. If you guys would like to reach out to us with any questions, comments, or concerns, you can contact us on Twitter at IntoTheNorthPod, via our email at IntoTheNorthPodcast@gmail.com, or on our Discord server, the invite link for which can be found in the description for this episode. An extra special thanks to all of our patrons who help cover the expenses for our show and allow us to work toward improving the quality of the podcast. If you too would like to become a patron, we are at patreon.com/IntoTheNorthPodcast. Another way you can support us is via our TCG Player affiliate link anytime you want to purchase something from TCG Player. If you use our affiliate link, which is in the podcast and YouTube description, a portion of your purchase goes towards supporting the podcast. Thank you, as always, to the band Fox Cadre for our lovely podcast music, to Nate Slover for our equally lovely podcast logo, and to our video editor, Manta Ray Hat. Next episode will be out in 2 weeks. Until then, see ya.
Bye.
Bye.